Good day, and welcome to Starting Daemon and Handling JS Error in Gleam Part 2. Although actually it's Part 2 version 2, because I did record this a few days ago and got into a right old mess. The way I'm using messages it just really wasn't working for doing this decision stuff, and there was also some bad audio. So anyway, that's been scrapped, deleted, never to be seen. But throughout that video, as I was recording it, I was basically thinking I really need to have the ability to return a result from JavaScript. And I'm pretty sure, or at the time I was pretty sure I'd seen that you could do that, and it's kind of mentioned as well in some of the documentation for Gleam JavaScript. And so last night I did a little bit of research and actually found out how to do it. So I will be doing that. Well, I ended up doing it last night on my laptop. So I will show how I did that, and then I will finish off the actual starting Daemon functionality today. So let's get going. I'll show what I did, and then we'll finish off what I was only sort of halfway through. First of all, I was having problems with making snippet expanded GUI. It kept failing because it couldn't move the Wails JS library stuff into the right place that I needed. And I just cleaned it out and carried on. And then I sort of had a little think about why is it doing this? And I had a look at the make file, and it was so obvious. So I've done a little bit of fix up, and this is the version similar to what you've seen before, because I haven't pulled down from a laptop yet. But the problem was here, when I was doing this move, moving Rails.js from front end into front end source, I wasn't doing this little line here before. I wasn't removing the destination, so it was a directory being moved into a directory all the time. It's really obvious when you look at it, but I just hadn't spent the time to have a quick look. Spotted it straight away. And then there was the second thing as well, where it was just always building Wails no matter what. And that was because up here on the JS object, I had it as just dist front end JS instead of front end. So it was, from this place, which is in the root of the command, it was not getting the right path there. So it was always missing, and therefore always wanting to build. Easy fix. Once you actually take your time to have a look at it, it was there. And I took the time then as also to just clean up a little bit, so it's got a lot less junk in here now, but that's going to change slightly in a minute when I pull down the make file from last night, because I realized I wasn't I took out the JavaScript stuff, but I need that because I have FFI JavaScript in there. I already have the one for the timer, and as you'll see in a minute, I'll need one now for the next bit I'm doing as well. And I don't think there was anything else. Oh, I can actually, what I can do is I can build this. I'll do a watch. Exec make. Oh, so see, it's already working there. Nothing to be done. I was never getting that before. And then here, I noticed that I've also got a make run, so I don't need to be doing the full path. So I can do a make run here. Hold on. If I do a snippet expander, stop first, so that I get the notice dialogues that I want to play with. Okay, so this works as normal in the code that you basically saw in the last video. And I also have a very simple way of testing that we get an error. So here, if I actually change this no hup, which is the way that we start off the daemon in the background without it dying once the GUI is gone. If I change that to no hup z, so that command no longer exists on the path, and then I run again once it's rebuilt. Oh, of course I already started it. Stop. Okay. This is the old code before I did the changes yesterday, using the rescue, and it works. There was a problem starting the daemon exec no hup z executable not found. So that's a proper error coming back from basically the shell that's been started. So you can see here I'm doing an exec and it's trying to start whatever this is, and there's no hup z. It's not working. So I need to undo that change now, and I'll just show what we had before, so you understand what we're going to be changing when I pull down my code. So I have this external function. It's just calling start daemon that you just saw in the app in the Go code there, and it returns a promise with nil. There's no response from that start daemon that we just saw, unless of course there's an error, and then you get an error, a rejection, a JavaScript reject, which you should normally catch if you're using, try catch and all that kind of stuff. So I'm calling that function, piping it through promise rescue, and what rescue does is basically a catch, and then I am passing the promise result as such into that show error for response, and that takes the error code, turns it from a dynamic into a string, which you can see there, and then I've got this little fallback where it gets the start error title instead if it can't decode it. Otherwise the result is just returned into the message here, and then the message is just used in this show error call with the title at the top, and then that show error just calls the JavaScript show error, passing in a title and a message, and that's how you got the Wails generated dialogue showing the error. Not particularly complicated, just a little bit messy because we've got this error code being dynamic instead of a string, so we have to do all that decoding and stuff like that, but not in my next bit, in my next version. So I will go get that, and then we'll see how different it is. And I'll explain how I got to where I was as well. Okay, so hopefully that will build on here. Hasn't come down yet. There we go. So the way I got to what I'm going to show you in a minute is going back to basics and going reading the docs for Lustre. So I read this a couple of guides. So I quickly went through the quick start guide, and nothing new there for me. That's fine. I'm already up. The application setup is fine. But then I read this managing state and side effects guides. just to sort of refresh my mind, make sure I wasn't missing anything in the way that all the messages flow and stuff through the application. It's a really good read. It's nice and succinct, and it really makes sense. And there's a couple of things that I got out of this that I was obviously doing wrong or could investigate. So I do need to, in this particular guide, I do need to remember that my model at the moment is just a temporary solution, because I have, if I go, no, I better not go into it because that will show what's changed. At the moment I have things like Daemon running, Daemon installed, Daemon starting as just record entries basically in the model. I fully intend to refactor that so that it's going to be in its own little Daemon type, so it'd be like a Daemon state or something like that, and then I can use that as one entry in the model, so it'll be just Daemon, which is of type Daemon state, and then in there it will just be things like running, installed, starting, things like that. But that will be a refactor job in the future. And it just reminded me here that I need to do that. So I do need to remember to do that. And then it talks about the messages, not actions, which is fine. I understand all that, no problem. Excuse me. But what I did forget was the way that you should name your messages to make them scalable for the future. You should try and do this subject, verb, object pattern. So they show this example here where they have like a bad example of set password, reset password, password reset, that kind of stuff. Whereas really what you should be doing is talking about what's happened and you need to react to it. So you have a user updated password. So, you know, someone's typed something into the password field and hit, you know, go. And then you have the user requested password reset. So that's the thing you do before that. And then obviously backend reset password. So that's the result of what did the backend actually do? Did it actually do it? And you have here a result and that kind of stuff. And I need to do that on my code. I have really bad naming at the moment, and I need to remember to do that. But that's not the solution that I would need to look at. Once I got to the side effects, this is where I found what I was looking for. A little way down, there is write in your own effects. And in here, there's this magic little line where it's importing in the FFI field file. It's importing the OK and error from some mysterious gleam.mjs. And I was like, I don't have a gleam.mjs. Where's that coming from? So I did a little bit of research on the Discord, Gleam Discord, and various other places, and it is actually a build time file that you can include, and then anything you obviously include, I presume is like, I presume it's like tree shaken down and put into the JS that you finally get output. I haven't looked totally that far into that. But what it means is that I now have an OK and error that I can return instead of instead of letting the promise error itself. I can catch the error, and I can say, if it's all good, I can say I am okay and here's the value. And I can cache the error and say, here's an error object as such, and here's the error message in it, which is exactly what I needed, because I was having this problem where I was thinking that I was going to have multiple messages, one for the daemon started, or the daemon started or did not start, you know, that kind of thing. But I don't need that anymore. I can have one message, and depending on its result in there, I can flip the view or things like that. And you can see it's actually very similar to what I've already got. So they have this read function with, it's got, obviously got this parameter here that's different to stuff I've had before, but they do have the to message, which is basically passing in a message constructor. And it's obviously a message that has a result in it. And then they have effect from, which means you get that magical little dispatch function as a callback. It then calls the JavaScript. So that's this do read down here, which is pulling in from this FFI file on the read function to do the thing. And then it's obviously going to get a result back in this case. And then that's passed to the to message. So that's obviously, in this case, the to message is just a constructor of the message, and it's passing in the result as the parameters needs, and then it's dispatched. For me, that's going to be slightly different because I'm dealing with promises, whereas this doesn't actually have a promise. It's not async or anything like that. So I will still have to do the promise map. So I will map my promise with result into the to message to get the value out of the promise, and then that to message with its, or the promise with a to message in it, is then going to be mapped into, passed into a tap of which the dispatch we use. So it's a different, slightly different thing there. But anyway, I will show that in a minute. And another thing that it reminded me of when looking at this code is that I really shouldn't be using JS as my prefix, in case I ever use some of this code on the back end, and I might want it to be like an Elixir or Erlang FFI, in which case I should use something like this do read. So at some point I need to fix that up as well. So I'm definitely gonna have like a refactoring video sometime after this one. But I want to get the basics up and running today. So let's see what we got here. I will open up app.go because we're going to need to do some testing there. I'm going to want front end source, and then the front end.gleam. And I'm also going to want this new file that I've got, which is front end source FFI. So I will break this start Daemon go code in the back end just now. We'll do that. Let it compile. And then in the front end.gleam, well, actually, I should probably go to the FFI so you can see how simple it is. So what I'm doing is I'm importing that from the Gleam MJS, the OK and error. And then I'm also importing the start Daemon function from the Wails code. And then I am creating an async function so it knows how to handle promises called start Daemon. And then in a try catch block, all I'm doing is I'm doing an await on the start Daemon. So it's now basically going to be resolved in this start Daemon JavaScript code. And then return in the result in an OK. So it's going to be a promise because it's an async function, which it has to be because we're handling promises. but the promise is now going to return an OK if it's all good. It's going to have the value coming from start Daemon, which is actually nil because it doesn't return anything when it's good. If there's an error though, I am turning the error to a string no matter what. So I think it's generally a string anyway, but it doesn't harm to make sure in this case. And I'm just returning it as an error. So it's an error result. And I'm returning that, and obviously it's going to be in a promise. So that's all I needed to do there. And I think in the future I might have a look at wrapping this up into just a common pattern, and maybe in my Gleam code, maybe just do a call of some IPC handling function and say, go run this function with these args. If I can do that, I'm not sure, but it'd be good if I could. And then I won't need to have like a start daemon, blah, blah, blah. But it works, and it is nice to have this as code that I can easily understand. So if I go back to the Gleam code, here we have, here's the external call here now. So we're just pulling in the FFI MGS, and we're going to be calling the start daemon. We also have, and we're just still at the moment calling it JS underscore start daemon, and you can see that it's returning a promise, and it's going to have a result, which is going to have nil if it's good, or some string if there's an error, as the values of OK or whatever. And then in the start daemon function itself, we're passing in the model as we have done before. And then we are expecting it to emit a message. So we have this toMessage, which is just, as we saw before, it's going to be some sort of result with nil or string as good or bad. And then we can see, yeah, the return type is model and then that message. And so in here, I'm doing the old converting the model. So I'm saying, right, the daemon starting is true. Once this kicks off, because it's async, we want the model to be updated to say, look, we are starting. And then we've got this function here, effect from, and then we've got the anonymous function taking in the dispatch callback. It calls that JavaScript, gets some sort of promise back, which we're mapping to the message, and then we're doing the promise tap again, just like we've done in other things like Daemon installed. It's exactly the same pattern now, because I'm not getting a reject anymore. So I don't need to do the rescue and pass that into a message. It's not, I don't need to do a catch here. I've done it further down in the JavaScript, which should make it a little bit easier for me to sort of abstract this, hopefully, in the future, and make it a common thing where I just say, I'm just going to call this function, but we'll get there, hopefully. I don't even know if I can do that. So that has built, and I made sure that it fails. So I should be able to do a make run again, and I should get basically the same result. Yep, there we go. And just to prove that, let's change where I fail. So I'll not make that fail there. Let's make it fail on snippet expander D. So here it does a quick lookup in start daemon to make sure that it does actually exist in the path, otherwise it's not going to be able to call it and run it. We've already obviously done that as a dedicated call, but we do a little check in the start daemon. So if I run that again, it should now fail with a different message. There we go. Could not find snippet expander D. Is it installed? Okay. It does look like it's installed, but we just broke the function it's calling there. So now if I fix that, and I'll just clean that out as well. Now if I run it, there shouldn't have been any problems, and the daemon should start, and we just get our dummy UI, and that worked. But we do have this little problem. So, and this is what we want to fix today. If I do it again, look how long it takes. So this is saying it looks like Snippet Expander D is installed, and it's going to be like that until something happens, until we've either determined that it is running, or we get a failure. But either way, we don't get a I am starting, which is what I want to do. So look, it takes a little while, and then we get just the result. And I want to change that. So my task today is to finish off the functionality by getting a little view in. So it works like the original. So if I bring up Snippet Expander, the real one that's running on my system. So this is the actual one built with Svelte and all that kind of stuff. When I click this, you'll see this little bit change and the button go away just momentarily. There it goes, and then it comes back with all the snippets. So I want to mimic that in the view. I've got up here, I've got my new setup where I'm calling start Daemon, and I'm calling it with that Daemon started result message. Not a good name, but that's what I just did last night. And what you'll see is that when we get the result come back, we get the OK nil. That means we're no longer starting, so I make the model say we're not starting anymore. And then we don't do anything else. That's it, we've done it. And then hopefully what happens is the tick at the moment will take care of determining whether the daemon is actually running. We're not starting it anymore. We've got result and we've resolved it. Something's happened, but we let the normal check determine whether it's actually running. So that means that we can have that starting display sort of go away and whatever. So I think I've got this slightly wrong. I think what I need to do is let I need to do that turning off the daemon starting be later. It needs to be probably on when we get an OK. It probably just don't. I think maybe we just leave it and then we switch it out on the check. Whereas on the error, so here we have the daemon started result for an error state, we do need to turn it off so that we just go back to showing, okay, it's installed, but you should be able to start it with the button. But we'll see. I need now to show the view. So down the bottom here, we've got all our views. And here we have the daemon installed view. So at the moment, this shows that button with the text when the daemon is installed. And then it shows another one, daemon not installed, with no button, obviously, if we don't have it installed. And this is shown alongside daemon running view up here in the main list. So we've got a list of views. It goes daemon running view, which is the error notice. Then we have the daemon installed view, which is showing the warning, and that's only if the daemon's not running. So as long as that daemon running state isn't set to true, we're going to get these notices on screen. So I need to update this Daemon installed view so that it switches to show starting. So very dry mouth today. So I need I need to swap these out if I have the Daemon starting being set. So what can I do there? When it's not installed, I always want to show this. I always want to show just that, nothing else. And I don't want any change. If for some reason Daemon starting is also set, which it shouldn't be, but you never know. So what do I want to do? I know I could do a case statement for two things. Let's try this. See if this works. So if I have model Daemon starting, I can then pass in, right, if it's true for the install, but false, I would get my usual, okay, here's a button, go start it, because it's installed, but we're not starting yet. And that means down here, I just need to say false and anything, because I don't care about the Daemon starting. And then I can duplicate actually, I'll duplicate this bottom one because it's a little bit easier, because I don't need to then take out the button rubbish. So if I take this one and I set that to true, because we have it installed and we are also starting, so we have the second condition as starting, I want a warning notice, which is fine. And then I just want, I think it's Daemon starting is the string I have for that. I think that'll work. Okay, let it build. Now we've stopped it, I think. Oh, okay. I think it's going to be, I think it might switch too quick. Yeah. Yeah, that was my fear. But you did see a little flash there. I knew that was going to happen. Let's try again and see if it lasts a little bit longer. Yeah, it's just going away straight away. Okay. All right, so I was right. I need to sort out that. I can't change the model straight away. It's just too quick. And then because the 5-second timer check, then it changes. So what do I do? I could do a dispatch to say, well, I could be optimistic and say the Daemon's running. That's not, I don't like that because I'd rather the test was done. Oh, before I do that, before I make any changes, I need to test the failure condition. I forgot about that. Let's do this one because it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. I need to make sure stop. I need to make sure that when I get failure, it eventually returns to this, because that's where I was having the problem in the video that you're never going to see. Right, so it's saying it is installed. Okay, but it did do the flashed, I think. Yeah, there was a little flash. So again, that one's got a problem as well. That's way too quick. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's just quick. Think about that one. Right, so... Okay. What I'm going to do then is for Daemon started okay, I'm just going to pass the model. I'm not going to do any update here. But on the Daemon running result, which is the handle Daemon, I'm going to do... Oh, well, I think I've already done it. Yeah, so we've got the Daemon starting is set to false if the Daemon's running. Oh, I already handled this. Okay, that's cool. And then we leave... If the Daemon's not running, we leave it as whatever the Daemon starting is for the moment until we get some sort of resolution, because the tick could happen just prior to the actual Daemon being up and running and responding. So we might have like a little time before the next tick comes along. So we might need some time for that. Okay. So it might already be covered there. Let's try that. Right, it should still be in a failure state. Okay, so in theory, this might last a little bit longer. Oh, I've got the error in. Okay. Let's go back to the Go code. Make it work again. Run it. Okay, now what I'm hoping for is starting to show up a little while, and then we just get the version thing go. Yes, okay, cool. That's cool. What I could do, obviously, is preemptively do a little test, but I quite like the fact that it takes a few seconds. At least you know something's happening. It's doing the thing. So that's good. Let's just do another check, make sure there's... That's good. That's fine. I don't mind that. Okay. So we have that working. The error state is a little bit quick. Maybe I should only update that view after we've shown the error. Oh, that's another thing I didn't show you, but I've moved the, I've reduced the show error stuff. So it's now, I've got rid of the, it was show.js error, and then I changed it to, during the video you didn't see, and to change that to show error for response. And that was where we were doing the decoding and all that kind of stuff of the rejected error message, the rejected promise. I don't need to do that anymore because I'm getting a string back as a result. So I got rid of all that, and I'm just calling the show error now, which is good. But what I could do is have something handling the start Daemon response so that it's in there. And there it could do both. It could do it could handle the result, and depending on what we get, call the promise, call the error message, the message, the error dialog. That might work. Okay, I am going to save this before I make that change because it's working. Let's showcase that. Looks good. Let's just quickly make sure everything's, so that's working. Okay. So it's just the Gleam code changed. And all we've done is got rid of the Daemon starting in the update function. And we put in the new view notice. Okay, that's fine. Add Daemon starting notice. Okay. Right, so that's safe. And now I can mess about with this. So in the Gleam, I want a handle function like I've done before. In fact, it's going to be quite similar to this. So I'm going to want to pass in the result, which is obviously different. Let's do the start Daemon here. Handle update the model with whether the Daemon no, let's do handle the result of starting the Daemon. So handle start Daemon result. A little bit on the nose, but hey ho. Can I just do result here? Was that bad? Actually, I could do like started, and I could do the is it Daemon? What? Why can't I get the message here? Daemon started result. Daemon started. No. No. Okay. Here's a result of nil or nil or string. Let's call this response actually, I think. I think, right, what did, and that's side effects. Right, no. Backend reset password. Yeah, they don't sort of, they're not quite so on the nose about it. Let's do handle Daemon started. And then we'll keep that as a result. We're going to return the model and an effect. And then what we're going to do then we're going to do a case statement. But yeah, okay, I think I know what I'm going to do here. I think what I need is a simple case statement based on started, and I'll wrap it in a model in a minute. So if we have an OK nil, we have to emit an effect none, and then if we have an error, we can do show error, pass in the title, which I'll get to in a sec, and then the error message. So what we're going to do take out all of that. Oh, I could just grab that actually, can't I? Oh, I've really broken everything now. Put that there. Delete that. Put that, go back. Grab that, that's no longer needed. Up there. So in here, we'll do that. And then back up here. Take out that. Presumably, I don't know if this is good or not. Let me do that. Actually, started. And then I can just do handle Daemon started. Pass in the model. And started. Oh, it's not complaining. Okay. I think I crashed the language server. Oops. Okay. Either that or because of the error, maybe it's just not happening. Not happy. We have, okay, in here, like that. So we are doing a show error. We are translating Daemon started error title and passed in the error that we're getting from the error. And now we just need to wrap with the model. It's still not going to get me the showing the starting Daemon while we're handling the dialogue. Maybe it don't need to. Maybe it's just quick enough, eh? Here's a modal. Actually, that's what I should do. I should do the response here. So I'll just do this. Full response. And then in both cases, I'm covered. So I can do in here, do the model, and then this. Take out that. And then for the model, we will do Daemon starting false. So I'm hoping that means that that is delayed until we've handled the show error. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's already up and running. All right, so this is going to work here. Don't think did I break the code? It took a while. Right, stop it, go break the code. Oh no, it's changed straight away. Wonder why. I guess that is async, sort of. Can't really do anything about that. Not too fussed about that. I mean, if it takes time to hit the back end, we will see it for a little while, but I mean, that's unlikely. The important part is that we've got this, okay, where it basically does nothing, and then the Daemon check switches the model back, which is working okay. Not sure how I could delay that, but I don't really need to. It's on a modal. No problem, I think. Overthinking it there, I think. I think we're good. Right, so a little check. So we've streamlined this a little bit. We just have one entry for the Daemon started result, which I'll be renaming in the next video, I think, along with all the other ones. And that's going to then call the handle Daemon started. So I think we are good. And the LSP is back, that's nice. And the result of starting the Daemon. Yeah, I think we're good. Oh. Yeah, good point. Oh, what did I do there? Did I just change something? Okay. Right, there's nothing changed there, so I can get rid of that. And I do need to unbreak this. Let's check, see if it works still. Good. And it will get diff. So we've cleaned up the translator from the update function, simplified the message handling there, and then we've got a handle Daemon started, which brings the model stuff back into a function, which is nice. We've got the translator. We do in the case started. Okay, nil. Ever do the model. It's good. All right, that's fine. So do that. What have I actually achieved there? Simplified. Oh, I've delayed. Yeah, fixed the Daemon starting. And now Daemon starting notice to show until Daemon line do. Okay. That should be that. And let's just check that the builds are running okay. So the last one was okay, so this one should be good too. I think we're good. Smart. All right. That's enough for today. Get on with work. So that's good. So now we're at the point where we can start thinking about the actual snippets handling itself. I'm probably going to do a little refactoring and clean up my next one. Get those messages sorted. Maybe make sure that all in the update function, we just call a handler for each one just now, so it's nice and clean. Unless it's like just nothing, no effect. I don't think we need to do that probably. And just basically just make sure we're ready to then start doing the okay, go grab all the snippets, and then do a view and all that. That's going to be a lot of work, but yeah, should be good though. We're going to start handling much more complex data, arrays of things. So the model's going to change considerably, but that'd be fun. That'd be cool. All right. So until next time, thanks for watching. You take care. Bye.